Hey, what's going on, fam? So I want to talk about Jeremy Lin and this claim that he was called coronavirus on the court and also the claims of racism against Asians in general. So first of all, fam, let me say this. So Jeremy Lin is a NBA player or a former NBA player who's washed and trashed now, who claimed that he was called coronavirus by black people or black players in the NBA G League, which for those of you who know, the G League is basically like a developmental league. It's like the if you know anything about like baseball, it's like the minors compared to the majors. It's just basically a semi-pro NBA league, right? And that's where Jeremy Lin has been reduced to playing. Actually, after already playing in the actual NBA, he's so washed after just 9 years in the league. And I say that to say in context and comparison to someone like LeBron James, who's in his 18th year. So he's already so washed in his ninth year in the league that he has to play in the G League in order to have a job playing basketball. And I am saying that to attack him because of what he's doing, but I'm not saying that just to attack him because that also provides context to what he's accusing um, phantom players of, and I'm about to get to that in just a moment. But anyway, fam, without further ado, let me go ahead and I do want to actually read not the whole article, just an excerpt from an article from NBC on Jeremy Lin. So the NBA's G League is investigating after Jeremy Lin, one of the best-known Asian American basketball players, said that he had been called coronavirus on the court. Lin opened up about the racist act in a social media post Thursday, a few days after doing a candid interview with NBC Sports Bay Area's Race in America to discuss a recent uptick in racially motivated attacks against Asian Americans nationwide. Being a 9-year NBA veteran doesn't protect me from being called coronavirus on the court, Lin wrote on Facebook without going into specific details about when or where this happened. All right, so I'm stopping right there. That's all I wanted to read, fam, because that last part is very important. He won't go into details about when or where this happened. Since this has happened, he said, "Oh, I won't name or shame anyone." Now, fam, I want to name a couple of things here. So, first of all, it's awfully convenient that after you already did an interview that appears to be very propagandized against black people, asking for black people, because that's this special that they're talking about that he participated in, this Race in America special or whatever they're talking about, NBC Sports Bay Area's Race in America special, where they basically blame black people for these attacks on Asians and said that somehow black people as a collective are coordinating these attacks on Asians and that we should somehow take responsibility as a collective black race for these so-called attacks on Asians. And we all know, fam, these are pretenses to justify attacks on us and harming us under the pretense that we're violent and scary and all of this stuff, right? And also to justify racism against us while being racist towards us. So, fam, first of all, it's awfully convenient that after you participated in this interview, in order to give further validity and credibility to this interview, that a lot of people are already doubting the validity of this story, these stories of black people running around attacking Asians. How convenient that you claim that you were called coronavirus on the court. Yet you won't name the people who did it. Not only will you not name the people who did it, people went back and looked for incidents where someone got a tech or got ejected for saying something to Jeremy Lin, even if you couldn't tell what it was on watching the broadcast. Nobody can find any team or players that got ejected while playing Jeremy Lin in the G League. Nobody can find any footage of a big scuffle. So Jeremy Lin is saying NBA players fight all the time over the line trash talk. Hey, your wife tastes like this. I've been with your girl. Whatever over the line stuff they say. Your mom is this and that. Right? There is trash talk that is considered going over the line by players, and players throw hands for it all the time. So you mean to tell me that a player called you coronavirus, something that you clearly felt was racist, but you didn't try to throw hands with him, Jeremy Lin? Not only that, you won't name the players. Not only will you not name the players, you won't even name the team that they play for. Fam, this is highly suspicious. First of all, fam, let's say this. the dominant society, especially meaning white people, but not even just white people, other non-black groups are very eager to find incidences of black people being racist in order, because that implicitly justifies them being racist towards black people, because they're saying, hey, black people are racist, so it's okay to be racist towards them. That's their whole logic. And they won't say it, of course, but that's the end game of pointing out black people's racism, or so-called racism. And then when they won't name specific black people, or they keep, or even if they will, they keep trying to get other black people to apologize for that black person's behavior, and they keep propping up these scared, butt-kissing, want-to-be accepted type of Negroes who will jump up here and condemn the violence against race, the racism, so-called racism and violence against Asians. And these idiots, whether they realize it or not, are participating in anti-black racism when you sit up here and you apologize for other black people, when other white people don't do the same. Are random Asians walking up to you as any black person apologizing for Peter Liang? Are they apologizing for the multiple museums in China that compare black people to monkeys? Are they apologizing for the countless Asian nations that have programs where their people do blackface? Are Asians apologizing for the Asian store owners that have beaten up countless black women who were patronizing their beauty stores? Have Asians apologized in general for the murder of Latasha Harlins, who was killed by an anti-black Korean? Just for being a black girl in her store. And again, fam, if y'all hearing like rustling or noise in the background, my bad. That's my dog. So, but fam, these are the questions to ask. Are we gonna play this game with all racist of all races? Because Jeremy Lin is claiming that he wants people to call out racism, but you won't name the racist. And even if black people are doing this, which they're not, it's still not comparable to the things that black people go through and the systematic racism that black people go through. Black people are not, most black people, I will say some are, but most black people are not upset over name calling racism. We're upset over systematic racism that leads us to poverty and crime and murder and death and all of this other stuff, all these other societal side effects of dealing with a system of white supremacy. Not some name calling that hurts my feelings. But again, I highly doubt that the name calling occurred at all. That's why you won't name it. Fam, this reminds me of something that I saw on social media a little while back, where a fan of a certain team was claiming that, or showing so-called DMs with the person's name blocked and protected, of fans of the team claiming that they don't that so basically it's team A and team B are, two basketball teams, right? And a player on team A got injured. And because team A and team B are rivals, the fan of team A whose player got injured claimed that fans of team B were inboxing them happy that the player got injured and wishing injury on the player. And I said, "Hey man, post these so-called fans of team B, post their ads. Post their information if these people really are wishing harm on your player and you're pointing it out how disgraceful it is. Let us know who these disgraceful people are. Why are you protecting their identity if they're such scumbags?" Because and now I'll tell you why I asked that, fam. Because I strongly suspected that this person made it up. That you take basketball so seriously that you will fabricate DMs, because it's easy to fabricate DMs these days and make up fake DMs. You will fabricate DMs in order to demonize the other fans' team base and falsely claim that fans of the other team were sending you vile things like wishing injury on another player just to make that's how desperate you are to lie and make that fan base look bad. And that person would never post these people. And I say that to say the screenshot that I'm using because a lot of people, especially these people who follow the mainstream media and liberals, are showing this fake outrage. How dare you question Jeremy Lin? If you're questioning Jeremy Lin, you're part of the problem. No, I'm not. Because if he's not lying, then prove that he's not lying. He's the one who has the proof. All he has to do is say who it was, or if he don't know the person's name, say what team they were on. So you're sitting here saying that you want Jeremy Lin is saying that he wants racism to be called out, but you won't name the racist. So my question is this: do you want all black people to be blamed for the action of these Asians? And if you say that you don't, why won't you name the people that are doing it so we can deal with them? Why are you saying you want racism called out, but when you have an opportunity to call out the racist, you won't? It's because you want all black people to take responsibility for this. Yet all Asians won't take responsibility for the Asians who are anti-black racists. All white people won't take responsibility for Donald Trump. I've already talked about that in previous videos. Yet somehow, in some way, black people are supposed to take responsibility. All black people are supposed to take responsibility for this so-called racism that's being directed at people like Jeremy Lin, which I don't believe is happening. If anything, the racism is coming from Asians towards blacks. And also, fam, this is why I said we should make that video as soon as the coronavirus came out, saying this is why we should call the virus the China virus like Trump is doing. Because look at how anti-black these Asians are. And I also feel that Jeremy Lin's motivation for this is attention and because he feels irrelevant. For those of y'all who don't know, fam, Jeremy Lin had a emotional breakdown like last year or 2 years ago because he was so washed he couldn't be in an NBA. And fam, these players, especially some of these non-black players, because this reminds me of that white player Sam Decker, who was the reason why my Twitter got suspended, or one of my Twitters got suspended because he said it was okay to be white, and he was another trash scrub bench player who happened to be a racist. And I'm just looking at players like Sam Decker and Jeremy Lin, and because society teaches people that black people should be on the bottom in everything, right? Society teaches other races of people, especially white people, but even Asians and Hispanics and other people. That's why we see in Asian countries and Hispanic countries, these people are specifically racist against black people. They're not racist against white people. In these countries, every culture and every race and every ethnicity has a slur for black people. Black people do not have a slur for every other ethnicity and every race. Yet, basically, every race and every ethnicity and every language has a specific anti-black racist slur. So I'm saying that to say white people and other groups of non-black people have been imbued with this mentality that it's just the natural order of things for black people to be on the bottom. So it causes severe insecurity in some white people and other non-black people like Jeremy Lin, some white people like Sam Decker, a wash or a player who's not in the NBA anymore, who was a white supremacist, who was talking about it's okay to be white. And I've already talked about how saying it's okay to be white makes you a white supremacist because it's always been okay to be white. And only white supremacists feel the need to say that it's okay to be white. But I digress. So people like Sam Decker and people like Jeremy Lin, when you get in an arena like the NBA where it's being dominated by black people, the very same people who are supposed to be on the bottom in everything, and even if they are dominating this field, you as one of the few Asians or one of the few white people who decide to try to play in the NBA, you should be able to dominate it because white people look at themselves as basically like they should be Larry Birds in the NBA if they wanted to be in the NBA. They should be one of the best because they're just naturally superior to black people. So if they decide to play basketball, they should be one of the best basketball players. If they decide to rap, They should be one of the best, even though they're not really going to try to do it because it's not their forte. A lot of them, while white people will admit it's not their forte, if they feel that it is their forte, if they are one of those few white people that feel that it is their forte, they're not going to feel that they should just blend in. They're going to feel that they should be one of the best. And is this in every single case? No, but it is in a lot of cases. So Jeremy Lin, because he has, most Asians won't decide to try to even fool with basketball. But because Jeremy Lin decided to try to, and he actually has some success, and he actually is a little bit skilled, or was at one point, he is extremely insecure about the fact that he's washed out of the NBA now, especially when there's players who's been in the league twice as long as him, and they're still in the NBA. That causes a lot of insecurity for these type of cats. Because they feel like, hey, because I'm choosing to do something that mostly only black people do, and I've already shown that I'm good at it, I should naturally be the best or better because I'm not black. And Jeremy Lin, I would not be surprised if he's thinking along those lines. So how can I not even be good enough to be in the NBA? Oh, look, what a coincidence. The same anti-black racists who were blaming Trump for all racism are now blaming black people. And they're using Asians as their token and their proxy to blame black people and make black people the face of racism. Before, Trump was responsible for all racism. Now black people are responsible for all racism. Within a month of Trump being gone. Oh, what a clout chasing coincidence. Opportunity. What a clout chasing coinky dink opportunity. I can get all this attention for claiming that I've experienced racism and bring attention to myself and also get revenge on all those black players who have taken my spot from me by being better than me. It's just 3-in-1. I can clout chase because I'm irrelevant now. I can get revenge on the Negroes who are better than me at something I actually tried to be good at. It's just too convenient and too great. It's too easy. And then also he comes up with this story after he already did an interview with this about this propagandized, trumped up story. So I don't believe that anything happened to him. I just believe that once he got called to participate in this, he went on ahead and leaned in and started pretending like it was happening to him too. Once he got called to participate in this farce, that the white supremacists and whatever anti-black Asians that are helping them decided to collude and participate in this and come up with this false story so that they can start targeting black people and paving the way for an Asian George Zimmerman, because that's what's going to happen. Some Asian is going to kill a black child, and they're going to claim that they fear for their life because of all the so-called blacks that were being racist against Asians. That's all they're clearing the way for, is another Asian damn George Zimmerman. And because they're coming up with this plot and to take the attention off of white supremacy, they're coming up with this fabricated story. And again, family, I say this to say white people especially love to come up with stories of black people so-called being racist, because that implicitly justifies their racism against you and takes the subject off their racism against you. It's basically you're calling them out for being a white supremacist, and they say, I know you are, but what am I? And they're trying to use that as a tactic to get them off the hook of having to be confronted and dealt with over their white supremacy, and also for them to be able to continue to practice white supremacy against you under the claim that you're being a so-called racist because you're black and you don't like the racism that's been directed at you. We see Joe Biden coming up with executive orders about the racism against Asian Americans? Where's the executive order about racism against Black Americans? Why is it when black people come up, we have to do for everybody else as people of color? Why didn't you tell the Asians, hey, we can't talk about Asians and the racism they experience? What about people of color? People of color experience racism. Black people experience racism. Arabs experience racism. They get called terrorists and all of that stuff. They get stereotyped. Middle Easterners. Hispanics get stereotyped for being immigrants. So what about? What about? That's what happens to us. So why won't we do it to Asians? Again, because the society is set up to be anti-black. And fam, this is why I say about like Neely Fuller, even though I recommend people to listen to him and look up to him and follow what he says in order to understand the system of white supremacy, the brother Neely Fuller and his disciples think black people and Asians and Hispanics and basically anyone who's considered not white, that we're all in the same boat as far as dealing with white supremacy, and we're not. We're simply not. And I can't accept any philosophy fully that says that we are in the same boat as Asians and Hispanics and these other people when it comes to dealing with the system of white supremacy, because we are simply not. It's simply a utter denial of reality to say that all people either fall into one of three categories: white, white supremacists, and non-white. No, no, no. Because these buffer classes or these other groups of people who are not white but also not black are severely anti-black. The system of white supremacy is specifically and mainly anti-black, and we see that in incidents like this, where they will give Asian Americans specific executive orders. They'll give Asian Americans reparations like they gave the Japanese for those internment camps. 20 years after their internment camps, yet it's been 400 or 500 years, and we still are fighting for our reparations. And our reparations went on way longer, and the reasons for our reparations are way more justified, went on way longer, and the damages are way more severe. We see it in the fact that these other groups, Asians and Hispanics and all these other groups, can come over here and prosper immediately. At least compared to black people, they can. Not all of them, but a lot of them. They're a lot quicker to be accepted, even among white children. The Hispanics and the Asians are a lot quicker to be accepted by white children than black kids are as friends. Hispanics and Asians will accept white kids as friends before they will accept black kids in a lot of cases. We all know this, fam, even as children. So, fam, again, I really didn't want to make this video too long, but it's kind of gone on longer than I wanted to. But for Jeremy Lin, Jeremy, put a name on it. Otherwise, you lying. And I don't care about this brainwashed, all I watch is CNN mentality where people want to say, "Oh, y'all really," and that's what I'm using for the screenshot. Y'all really trying to gaslight Jeremy Lin for speaking out about his own experiences with racism. That has a very shut up and dribble tone to it. You see, fam, everybody tries to co-opt what happens to black people and the racism that happens to black people, and it's not the same. And again, what's the point of Jeremy Lin saying this if we're not going to hold the specific people accountable? Do you just want black people in general to be held accountable and apologize for these people? And if so, are Asians in general going to start apologizing for the murder of Latasha Harlins? And my bad for that alarm, fam. Are Asians in general going to start apologizing for the murder of Latasha Harlins? Are Asians in general going to start apologizing for the Peter Liang incident and all the millions of Asians who protested and said the justification was, hey, white people get away with killing Negroes, so why don't we? That was the justification for murdering Peter Liang, or why he should have got off, by Asians. Are white people going to take responsibility for Donald Trump and all these other white supremacists running around here? No. And Jeremy Lin, who's an Asian, so I know by default he's a white ass kisser, he would never ask a white person to take responsibility for some random white person to take responsibility for Donald Trump. And all you black people who are so desperate for acceptance All you butt kissers, because that's what you are. If you're getting on here and apologizing and condemning the racism against Asians or the violence and racism against Asians, any Negro who stands up and tries to condemn the violence against Asians, that Negro should be arrested and blamed for the racism against Asians. You know why? Because he's taking responsibility for it. That's what should happen to these plea copping Negroes who think that they're butt kissing by taking responsibility for what other black people do, so that all black people can be punished and targeted for these so-called acts, many times which are fabricated. That person should be the one blamed, because he's admitting to it. Because I didn't touch no Asians, so I'm not apologizing for it. But if you're going to get up there and apologize for it, that Negro should be exposed as one of the ones who's been attacking Asians. And other black people should start asking them, why are you attacking Asians? You should stop. When as soon as that black person starts condemning the violence and condemning the racism and copying pleas for what's happening to Asians, you should start blaming that person and saying, yeah, I agree. You should stop attacking Asians. You should stop being racist towards Asians. You should stop calling them coronavirus. Why? Because you're taking the blame for it, because I didn't do it. I don't know no black people who did it. But here you are basically admitting to it by condemning it. You're trying to wag your finger at other black people, but since you seem to be the only black person that knows that it is happening, I'm going to accuse you of it. Really, fam, any black person who stands up and says that black people need to apologize or should be condemned, and we need to apologize for the racism that's happening against Asians. And we need to stand up and speak against it and somehow take responsibility. And that's why we're obligated to speak out against it. Okay, fam. That black person that's saying that, they're one of the black people that's calling black people coronavirus. They're one of the black people that's assaulting Asians in the street. Because I'm not, and I don't know any black people who are. So it must be you. Because you clearly have knowledge of it. And you're willing to take responsibility for it. But anyway, fam, this video went on way longer than I wanted to. That's why I call my videos rants, because I always end up ranting and going a lot longer than I originally intended. Because I would like my videos to be like 10 to 15 minutes most times, but they never turn out that way. But anyway, fam, that's another video. Like, share, subscribe, and peace. And sorry for any background noises. Like I said, that's my dog.